Okay, hi everyone. We're starting. Okay, I'm excited to introduce you to Daniel Smrokowski. Daniel is an award-winning and veteran podcaster, columnist, and an acclaimed advocate, telling disability stories on his groundbreaking global platform Special Chronicles, reaching thousands of people each month. As a digital media creator, he produces podcasts, videos, blogs, columns, and public speaking to give respect and voice to people with special needs. Daniel educates and informs our communities that those with different abilities bring unconditional love and joy every day. Even though communication is Daniel's biggest struggle, it has been his biggest passion. Let's give a warm introduction to Daniel.
Thank you, Luca and Gianluca. Honored to be here today. Every one of you has a story to tell. Even if communication and storytelling is challenging for you, your story and your voice matters. We all have challenges. For me, one of my biggest challenges is that people didn't always understand my speech. I often have to repeat things over and over and over. Sometimes, if there was a difficult word to say, I have to quickly think of an easier word to say. And with these language difficulties, people think I'm stupid. So some of you may be able to relate to having challenges in communications, right? Communication is my biggest struggle, but it's also my biggest passion. Communication, as everyone knows, is one of the most important means to relate to each other as humans. And that's why this session today on how to use your project in telling your story is so important. I challenge you all to think about your story and think about what will you do to overcome your challenges and rise to success. Just like I have never given up from defeating my challenges and rising to success, I hope you will continue to rise up to be the best leader that you can be, the best unified leader that you can be. My personal mission in life is to educate and inform our community that those of us with different abilities bring unconditional love and joy every day to share our stories. Athlete leadership, like many or most of us in Special Olympics, how many athletes are here in the room? And what about unified partners? I started participating in swimming and basketball. And at first, sports was a way to make friends. Which I'm sure many of you, when you got involved in your unified sports program, have made friends, athletes and unified partners working together. And then athlete leadership became a new way to be involved in the movement. And my life was never the same. Athlete leadership, which at first was mostly given speeches, and sharing my story and doing meet and greets ties in perfectly with my new love of podcasting. In 2008, I started a podcast called Special Chronicles, which developed into a storytelling platform that creates awareness, that gives respect and voice to those of us with special needs. Since then, Special Chronicles has grown in the past 15 years to be both a weekly podcast and a podcasting platform. Special Chronicles, this is an award-winning podcast, columns, blogs, live stream videos that has reached thousands of people each month globally. In fact, so many of you have your phones out on your tables. You can even scan the QR code that is here on the table to listen or subscribe to my podcast. Many of the people I've interviewed have shared their stories on the podcast and are proud of our Special Olympics movement, either as athletes, unified partners, coaches, volunteers, family members, staff, sponsors, and even youth leaders like yourselves. And with the successes I've had, I try to bring my friends along for the ride. For example, I have mentored other athlete leaders through athlete leadership training. On my Special Chronicles podcast platform, I try to give opportunities to other Special Olympics athletes to share their stories, to take over as host of podcasts, write blogs on specialchronicles.com, and to be featured on their own shows. For example, athlete Katie Sanchez from New York in the United States has written blogs on specialchronicles.com. My girlfriend Georgia, who has Down syndrome, hosts her own cooking show and co-hosts the Georgia and Daniel show, which sometimes I kind of have to let her talk a little bit more on the show. But you can also listen to the Georgia and Daniel show by scanning the QR code. And for my own program in Special Olympics Illinois, athlete leaders Lisa and Cote co-host the Amazing Individuals show on my podcasting platform. During this afternoon's storytelling session here at the Global Youth Leadership Summit, I hope all of you athletes and unified partners will each remember that even though telling your story and communication can be difficult, you can use that challenge to be your strength. So think about your story today. Think about the challenges that you have and how you can rise to success. Every one of you has a story to tell, and your story can impact the Special Olympics movement and society overall. Together, we can show the world that we are unbeatable together and that we can lead to include, and that you can be the leaders of the next generation. So think about your story and we remember that you can take your challenges, rise to success, and share your story to make an impact in this movement. We now pass it back to Luca, and Gianluca, thank you for having me today.